This is a short video to showcase some of the functionality on the online Yorkshire Butterfly Atlas. The Atlas consists of a database of over 1 million sightings collected by volunteers over the past 20 plus years from the year 2000 to the present day. The landing page for the Atlas shows the brimstone and shows the distribution of records across the whole of Yorkshire from the year 2000 to the present day. The data is shown at a 1 kilometre square resolution. To change this to another species, you just have to click in this drop-down menu on the top left-hand side here, and it quickly jumps to one of the other species in the list and shows the full data set for that butterfly across the whole of Yorkshire. So in this talk, we'll just continue with the brimstone and move on from there. Yorkshire is such a large county that it was divided up into 5 Watsonian vice counties back in 1852 to provide a stable and consistent geographical framework for biological recording across Britain. Yorkshire is made up of 5 vice counties, VC 61 through to VC 65, and you can choose these selectively from this drop-down box here. We'll pick VC 63, for example, and the map will center on VC 63. I would suggest if you know which area you want to look at, because there's so much data in this database, it's just better to manipulate the data just in one vice county. But it's still pretty quick if you do the whole of Yorkshire, as you'll see when I demonstrate here. If you move the mouse to the top left-hand corner of the map here, you can zoom in very easily just by clicking on the left-clicking on the plus sign, and you can get into as much detail as you want in the map. And you can zoom back out using the minus sign, here the clicking. You can do the same if you have a wheel on your mouse. You can zoom in and out very easily. And if you want to move the map around in the frame, just hold the left mouse button down and the hand over the top of the map. It just moves the map around like that. If you want to move the map to full screen and take all the peripheral information away, just click on this left-hand top corner here, this little box, and it takes up the whole map. So you can put it onto the full screen if you want. To bring it back out, click on the same square, which has now got a little dot in it, and it'll take you back to your previous view. If you've got a grid reference for somewhere that you're interested perhaps in visiting, and you wanted to see what butterflies could be found there, enter that into this box here. So I've got one preloaded here, SE602521. This is going to take me to York Minster. So I click on there and press center, and it takes me straight into York, and you can see the center of York here. So you'll notice the scale on this at the bottom here shown for the number of records of, in this case, the brimstone over the time period of the database that we have, 2000 to the present day. So a red square is showing that more than 100 records of brimstone have been made over that time period. So if I left click on that box here, you can see the grid reference for the box, the site name. 191 records of brimstone have been made in that 1 kilometre square, and that amasses to a total of 422 adults. If you go a bit further north, it's now a yellow square. So it's down here. So 2 to 9 records of species. So we've got 6 records here and a total of 8 adults. Slightly darker yellow is up in the next scale here. Moulton Road in York, SE65G. So you can do that anywhere across the map. And obviously there are a lot of squares where it haven't been recorded, so you'll see those as blanks. Below the map, you can toggle between several color types. So if you don't like the white through to red, you can click on this little button here and you get an alternative sort of scale of pale up to very dark blue. If you're not interested in any sort of abundance records, but actually want to see where the brimstone has just been recorded, click off this button here and you'll get all the records of brimstone over from 2000 to the present day, all the 1 kilometre squares where it's been recorded. So I'll turn that back on and back to the default. Moving across to the right-hand side of the map, we have a few other layers and other views that you can actually put onto the map as well. So this is the default view, which is map box. We can go to a slightly different map. We'll just zoom in a bit first before we show you the differences. We'll go to a different map. Street map here. We can do topographic, so we can do contours and things like that, very much like an OS map. We can put a satellite image as well if you were interested in seeing more of the habitat type. And we can also produce a grey canvas just to show records across Yorkshire. There are a few other layers we've left on here as well. So we've got the 10-kilometre grid square. You can put in the national parks, which actually sit inside Yorkshire, and triple SI sites, and also the Yorkshire wildlife sites. You'll only see those if you zoom right into the areas. So, the one thing we've updated the database to be able to do is actually animate, so walk us through the record rather than being sort of static and you having to keep selecting years or days, etc. So again, select your species. Probably better if it's in a single vice county if you know you're in a look in one area, but I'll show you the whole of Yorkshire. You can zoom into an area if you want to as well. So first of all, we'll view the data, sightings data by year. So we don't have to select a year at the top here. We're viewing all years. I'm going to click on the play button in a second and you'll see the years that it's moving through data over time showing below this box. So we start in year 2000 and moving through here in the grayscale. As you can use any of the layers behind, I'll show it again in a second. And equally, you can also show it without an abundance scale on it. So I'll change that abundance scale, perhaps change it back to the default here. Let's play again. So I can pause it at any time. So if there's a single year you wanted to look at, you can actually use your mouse, left click on it and drag through. So if you want to go to a different speed, to take in a bit more of what is actually showing you, then do that. One thing I will show you, so interesting example when you do this, let's pick the silverwash fritillary. For those of you who aren't aware, it's only recently reappeared in Yorkshire. And that's quite graphically shown when you run the data map on here. So we'll just click on this. I'm going to start in the year 2000. You'll basically see Yorkshire doesn't have any records of silverwash fritillary. Then the odd one or two start to appear. It's not until around 2016-17 does Yorkshire suddenly have an influx of silverwash fritillaries. And as you can see now, they're quite well spread over large parts of Yorkshire. And for those of you who are aware, they've been found well up into County Durham and the area as well now, have been for a number of years. So that's by year. What you can also do is actually view all the records in a single year for a species. So if you want to select a year, I'll select last year, 2024 in this case. I'm going to press play again, and it now walks through every single record for that butterfly. Now, the brimstone doesn't have many records in any one place, so it's showing up as white, so maybe that's not the best color. So if I pause that, reset it, just show it in blue. So it's just showing where all the records are. Just bring that down a sec. So this is the whole of Yorkshire again, and these are the records over a year in 2024. And you can see each date where there's been a recording of sighting of brimstone. So again, I can pause it. I can hold the slider, move it left, move it right, forward through the year. Each of these white dots in this blue slider bar represent the break-in from one month to another. So that's June. You can see it drop into July as I go over that white dot. So just do this. And when it finishes at the end of the year, you will see the summation of all of the records for brimstone in the year 2024. One other feature that we've added as well is actually the ability to be able to show this as a heap map view rather than actually as sort of individual 1 kilometre squares. So all you have to do that is just press heat map view at the bottom underneath the slider, and there you get a heat map for all of the brimstone sightings in that year, 2024. If we click on here and go to view all years, you can see the heat map here. And you can still animate the heat map as well. So again, I can press play, and this is the sightings of the brimstone year on year. And easy enough to change that. So you could do that with any species. So we'll pick that's the common blue and just see what that one looks like. Click on heat map again. And the scale for the heat map here is, a single record in a square will be blue. If there's large numbers of them seen, which you can see the common blue there has been, then you'll get these very strong red color, which means there's been over 100 records of common blue in that area. So again, press this, cycles through some real hotspots appearing in certain years and certain places. Strong around these areas and up here in the Dales. So quite a nice way to view what's going on the species there. Move over next to flight period. We've done nothing really to change that. You've got the histogram view or a phenogram view, and this is just you can pick which year your histogram is shown in. So this is the sightings as a percentage of the total sightings, is the bars in the histogram, and the curve represents the previous 5 years. So you will see that change if I pick a different year outside. And you can see quite dramatic differences from year to year, as we know with the weather changing. It does change the flight period of our butterflies. So back to flight period. And the phenogram we put in for Yorkshire, so north to south, or an easting view, which is west to east. Just because Yorkshire is such a big county, you do actually see some variation in when the records of sightings actually do occur. So it's left in there. And finally, we move on to species richness. So I'll just blow up. This defaults to VC62, but again, you can pick any of the vice counties from this drop down on the left-hand side. I'm only interested in VC62 because I want to focus on a certain square. These records are now at 2 kilometre square resolution, just because there's a hell of a lot of data. This is literally every single record we've got in there showing across VC62, so that has to do a lot of crunching. The data layer now is showing from white to blue, white to red, or the alternative of the pale blues, going from a single species found in a 2 kilometre square up to more than 25 species found in a 2 kilometre square. We can also toggle the data layer off if you want. You might find this useful, particularly when you hone in on a square. So let's go in and have a look at somewhere that one of the squares and just see what it's telling us. So we'll go to somewhere around here. So it's saying it's got a reasonable number of species. If you left click on this square, you get the grid reference, you get the name of the site, you get the total number of species that have been recorded in there in the date range you've chosen. So in this case, I've left it unchanged, so that's 2000 to the present day. But if you pick 2000 to, let's say 2006, apply it, it will then crunch all the data and produce you a different view with presumably less species in. So yeah, in this case now, oh, actually it's still got 21. So, but you can see all the species and the number of records for that species over that 2000 to 2006 timeframe, which is very nice. And you can pick any date range you want. You can still center the map on a reference if you wanted to as well. And as I said, you can toggle the data on and off if you wanted to look more closely at the map underneath. It's quite nice this to be able to do because you can actually identify, if you're interested, squares where there are no records of butterflies. So you can see in this square here, we've got one green vein white, but actually in the 2 kilometre square next door, there's nothing. So if you click on it, it doesn't bring anything up. And there's quite a lot of empty squares around Yorkshire still, out in to the yeah, you only look at that Commondale one there, there's good 20 species, but nothing recorded in the next square. And there might be good reason for that, access to property being one of them. So that's about it. I hope you enjoy the Yorkshire Butterfly Atlas site. If you have any questions or suggestions for additions, please contact me at martin.butterflies@gmail.com. Thank you.